Hi everyone, this is Nikki Rowland and today I am guest designing for Peartree Cutfiles. I'm hosting the 3 p.m. challenge, which is a colour challenge, and it's basically Halloween colours. So we have orange, green, blue, purple and black. I'm using the Spooky cut file, which is a new one to the shop this year. I've also cut some smaller spider webs. That's a different cut file. It's called Spiderweb. And that was from last year's Halloween release, I believe. But obviously it's still available in the shop. So yeah, I'm playing along with the colour challenge today, and yeah, I'm happy to be here guest designing. So I'm using the Simple Stories Spooky Nights collection. However, I'm also playing with Distress Oxides. Now, I'm new to Distress Oxides. I have only used them a handful of times. I don't have very many, and I happened to make this whilst I was away on holiday scrapbooking with some friends. So I totally raided their Distress Oxides and made myself a list of ones that I now need to purchase. So the orange one I think is spiced marigold or spiced marmalade or something like that. It's a good orange ink for sure. And then I've got the green one, which was actually my own one, which is called Twisted Citron. And then I'm going to add some other colours in as well. I wasn't quite sure what I was doing at this point. So I'm using textured cardstock, white cardstock as my background. Now, normally when I do Halloween layouts, I use black cardstock as the background. But I decided to use white so that I could get the real good colours showing up on the background. So yeah, I'm using white, but it is textured because I didn't have any marshmallow with me. And I'm just going to kind of create these two areas, bottom left corner and top right corner. Top right corner is going to be smaller than the bottom left. And I have these two bigger spider webs cut for the bottom, and I have a smaller one cut for the top. So yeah, I'm just going to build up the colours, and then I'm going to overlay the cut file spider webs, which I've cut from black cardstock, over the top of the colours onto the background, and then I'm going to trim them off so that they sit just at the corners. Okay, so I mean, it looks really cool, doesn't it, with the spider webs over the top. It doesn't look as good when it doesn't have anything overlaid, but I think that's the beauty of mixed media, isn't it, that if you lay something over the top, that's when it kind of comes into its own, because it kind of becomes a glow, and it becomes part of the background as opposed to the foreground. So, okay, you can see that I'm really building up the areas of colour. I'm going to try and kind of blend them together a little bit as well. I'm not particularly great at this. I mean, it looks really splodgy from what I'm doing there, but as soon as I put the webs over the top, it just looks awesome. That's like magic. I think it's definitely a bit like magic. So yeah, that's looking pretty cool. I'm really happy with how that's looking. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and probably stick those down. I might do some splatters. Silly me, I haven't got the layout next to me right now, so I can't look to see how it turned out. Yeah, okay, so I now have to figure out what I'm going to do with the layout, where I'm going to put the photos, and I obviously don't want to cover up too much of that fabulous mixed media that I've just created, but I also don't want to, this also is a bit of an awkward design because I've got the two corners and I have the big spooky word for the middle. So where do I put my photos? So really they need to be part of that cluster down at the bottom. So I'm going to have to try and work that in without covering up too much of the colour and that whole area. So I've decided just to add a few black splatters. So rather than all the different coloured splatters, I've just gone for black. So just used a new acrylic paint shaker, and it's a bit rogue, and you can see that it's all over my background, which is slightly frustrating, but never mind. Okay, so I've decided also to create some Distress Oxide backing for my letters, and unfortunately I lost a bit of the footage of me doing that, but I just took a strip of white card that was the right height and I created colour blocks with the 4 different colour inks, so the orange, the purple, the green and the blue, and I just then added a bit of black to the top section of each to kind of create an ombre look effectively. And then I drew around the spooky letters and cut them out. And I've left the eyeballs blank, so they're just staying white, but the letters are all backed. This is just going to go literally right in the middle of my layout. It's not going to be attached to anything else or have anything to detract from the awesomeness that is this cut file. Okay, so I'm just currently putting the middle part of the P back in place and cutting out the bit from there. I completely backfilled this by hand. This wasn't done on the silhouette or anything. So I have, old style pen, pencil, drew around it, scissors, cut out, stick on. So just adjusting the P there and putting that middle bit back on there. Okay, perfect. So that's looking good. I'm happy, really happy with how that turned out. The letters, the ombre effect on the letters turned out better than I could have ever imagined. And with the eyeballs on white, that's just completely awesome, isn't it? Okay, so I'm going to raise that up on foam pads and get that positioned into onto the middle of my layout. I believe that my spider webs are probably stuck in place by now. And I've got my black splatters. Definitely going to have the photos anchored down at the bottom, although I am going to slightly change the arrangement of those and have one a little bit further up towards the middle of the title, thus also covering up less of the spider webs and the colourful area at the bottom. Okay, so just taking my time peeling off some foam pads there, and that's just going to sit there right in the middle. Oh, I just love this cut file. It's so awesome. I just think it's just brilliant. So, my spider webs are not stuck. Okay, so going to get those stuck down now. So you can see that I'm just applying those with some thin line, fine point PVA glue, and I'm just sticking them in a few places. So I'm sticking the middle, obviously, and then I'm just making sure that there's enough glue on there in order for them to not go anywhere, not move anywhere. Now, of course, I need to trim off the excess, so I need to make sure that if there's any parts that will detach when I cut them, that those bits are stuck on, if that makes sense. Just going to trim those off there. You can see that there's a few bits that are need sticking down a little bit more to make sure that they remain as the design was intended. Otherwise I could potentially lose bits by doing this. If I'm cutting off one of the spokes, for example, Okay, so that's the top one done. Same with the bottom one. Just need to make sure that I don't lose any part of the spider web by trimming that off. And also I don't want my bits to get stuck, so the edges of the spider webs to get stuck on the page protector. So I'm just going to make sure those little bits on the edges are all stuck in place. Okay, so that's looking pretty cool. I love how that's looking. And then I've also kind of rearranged my photos slightly, because can you see how the photo towards the middle of the layout is poking up a bit? Well, actually, I really liked how that looked. It's kind of reaching up towards the cut file title itself. Just kind of balances out the layout a little bit more. So I'm definitely going to go with that. So I've just mounted my photos onto black paper, pattern paper with orange dots on from the Spooky Nights collection. So just distressing the edges of those, of course, and getting those stuck in place. I'm raising the top edge of my photo on foam pads and sticking the bottom edge flat. I tend to do that quite a lot, and that's because I tend to cluster my embellishments at the bottom of my photos, and it's easier if my surface is flat rather than raised. So that's why I tend to do that. You can see that I've tucked my photos into the spiderweb, which was a really great thing to do, actually, because it made the photos feel part of those webs rather than covering them up. I appreciate I've covered up the colour underneath them, but I think it looks okay. It looks better that way than it was just on top. I'm just now putting out some embellishments that I think will work with this layout. So I've got, you're spoiled for choice when it comes to Halloween, aren't you? Because it's so easy, because it's all themed. I've got pulled out a tombstone that says trick or treat. I've got big long word eek, although I think I have to remove that because it doesn't quite look right. I've got a trick or treat bag, which is in lime green. A bat, I've got over on the left hand side, I've got a pumpkin bag, I've got a cat, I've got a spell book, and at the top above the title I've got the moon and a cloud, so that's looking really good. It just all comes together super easy and super quick when you have a theme, when you have themed photos and a themed collection to work with and themed cut files. It's just perfect, isn't it? So yeah, absolutely a pleasure to create when you've got everything like that matches. So yeah. Okay, so just trying to work out what I'm going to put at the top. I need to take some embellishments up to the top section where the spider web is, so I match it down with the section in the bottom left corner. So I just felt like I need to bring those through the colours and just some embellishments as well. So I just added some really easy label stickers. Eek, Happy Halloween, and I put a spell on you. I'm going to add some other bits and pieces up there as well, but for now that's looking good. I feel like the colours have been brought through. The whole Halloween theme feel has gone up there as well. I'm just going to add a label at the bottom there as well. Oh, I'm just raising them up on foam pads. Oh, I'm really taking my time with this layout, guys. Sorry if you're losing the will to live. Yeah, maybe I should have speeded up a bit more. So what I'm currently doing is not content with adding the stickers, the label stickers, just flat. I'm just stressing the edges of each one and then raising each one on foam pads. It does make it worthwhile. I do like the look, but it does take a bit of extra time to do things like that, especially because the stickers are sticky, so therefore it makes sense just to stick them straight on. But no, I've raised them and distressed the edges as well. So I'm currently just distressing the edges of the whole layout. Like I said earlier, I don't normally do layouts, Halloween layouts on white cardstock. I feel like it's too stark and too white and doesn't go with the whole spooky theme, but I just loved the way this looked and the colours. So I just thought I'd distress it a little bit by adding a sheet of black cardstock behind it, and then all the edges are distressed anyway. The white I couldn't cut down because I've already got the colours and the spider webs up to the edges. So I've just distressed, stuck it on top of a piece of black that's the same size, and then I have folded up the edges somewhat and creased them so that the black shows. I'm also now adding some black ink, distress ink again, with a one of those sponge tool things, ink applicator I think it might officially be called, and I'm just making the edges dirty and black and looking a little bit more spooky. I'm coming in there to the corners as well, and I think it does really add to the effect. It makes it look a lot better than just the stark white cardstock. I'm really pleased with how that turned out. Just a little bit of simple inking worked really, really well. I wasn't brave enough to do it on other parts of the layout as well, just in case it didn't look right. Okay, so I wanted to add a few sequins because sequins are awesome. And I just didn't have a Halloween mix or one that worked well with this collection and these colours. So I've just pulled out my favourite sequins and pulled a few of the different colours from different packs and created my own Halloween mix. So I have purple, orange and blues. No greens, but yeah, purple, orange and blue. So that's pretty cool. Just going to dot those around the layout, but certainly around the spiderweb areas. So at the bottom, over the colour sections, and then at the top as well on that top corner too. So yeah, just going to get those stuck in place now, and that's it. I think I'm nearly done. Yeah, all finished. Here is the completed layout. It's come out so well. I'm so happy with how those Distress Oxides turned out. I love it. And I love the spider webs overlaid, and that cut file was so awesome. So yeah, thank you very much for joining me. Don't forget to enter your challenge into the correct album on the Peartree Cutfiles group by 10 o'clock on Saturday the 6th of October. Yeah, thank you so much for joining me. That was Nikki Rowland for Peartree Cutfiles guest designing.